And here we are, people. How are you? Yes, indeed, Tuesday. Chatty Tuesday. With me, Mr. Lenny Beige. Just back in the seat, in the captain's chair, for the first time in a week. Thursday night, if you joined me on my live stream, not on Twitch, but on my people's cultural... That's a way to start the show. Groutiul has subscribed. Thank you very much. I did a live stream in honor of the Jewish Elvis's 80th birthday, Mr. Neil Diamond. It was me and the Cultural Centre JW3 up there in northwest London, very close to where my mother Sadie Beigewitz is still residing, at the knock at Heaven's Door funeral cooperative, an old people's home, where I've been doing shows at JW3 since it started about 5 years ago, and thank JW3 for at least for putting their money where their mouths when they said, you know, pandemic or no pandemic, we have to honor the great man's birthday, and we did. And I did a gig from my nook, my music nook. But tonight, ladies and gentlemen, let's see who's in. Good evening, Mr. Beige. Good evening, Mr. Thompson. I will introduce him in a second. That is my dear friend Peter Stamford. Barry 73. Are you wearing my grand's glasses? Mr. Beige, these are not grandma's glasses. These are Kirk originals. These are beautiful perspex, handmade by Italian children in a small industrial warehouse, an industrial unit just outside of Pisa, where they fashion these beautiful glasses from very hot perspex. Very few children are harmed permanently. Some are obviously disfigured. But, you know, I mean, to create glasses like this, there've got to be casualties, surely. And these are not my grandmother's. They're beautiful. Domfach, Leonard Magnolia. As I live and breathe, how the devil are me. Leonard Magnolia. Blue Velvet, says Pippa Leaf. But anyway, Domfach, I'm nice. I'm very good. Justin is in my ear. What were you asking, Justin? Yes, well, I'm just seeing if everyone's ready for the evening. Let's go. Julie Damon here. Of course, the JW3 show was awesome. Mrs. Accident One, good evening, my fine beige fellows. Hope you're all good. Obviously, there is you might want to take that back, that awful punctuation. Hope you're all good. You really need an apostrophe in there. Vimo4, hi, Mr. Beige, can you give me a kiss? Not until I see the state of your visage. Beige doesn't kiss just anybody, you understand. Rebecca, first, loving your eyebrows tonight. Of course, there they are, working their way up the beige. Completely unlifted, I might say. The wig keeps my... I think that's what it is. People say, how do you keep looking so young? And I've never had any surgery of any kind. I won't allow kind of fats or ointments or unctions into my skin. You know, I find it very bizarre that people happily inject their face with all kinds of... I once had the face or the arse of Russell Grant pushed into my face, but that was an altogether very different occasion and none too pleasant, let me tell you. It is a well-known fact that the only man I've ever let throw blades or get anything sharp near my face was the great Flidini, was Britain's only thalidomide knife thrower, who used to throw blades so close to the beige visage that even if I had a beard like Brian Blessed, I would have walked away looking like George Michael. It was unbelievable. What an act. What an act. Celebrating variety there. I need to thank you for my CD. Of course, Julie Diamond, you're very welcome. Just going back, Mumlars here, Pippa Leaf, Stray Casa, all the hardy perennials in the beige family, Pippa Leaf, Mary Queeley, saying, Dom, enjoyed your show last night. That's Dom Jolly, who launched his first Twitch show on his own Twitch channel. So please give him a follow and a subscribe. Just don't do it live during the show because all kinds of it's the gift of being so popular. The alerts were going off like it was unbelievable, and so what happened was it was half an hour of alerts and you just couldn't hear dumb. So tonight is Chatty Tuesday. We are back with a bit of Chatty Tuesday. The next weeks, ladies and gentlemen, we've got some incredible people lined up. But I have to say, I've known this man for many, many years, and I first saw him back in, 91, 92 at the Edinburgh Festival. When he was playing Bernard Wright-on. He was the glue that held Steve Coogan and John's show together. That show won a Perrier Award. And we know it sort of catapulted Steve into the stratosphere immediately. John, however, took a slightly slower path. But it was a path where he more than earned his stripes. Not only as an impressionist, I know him also as a musician, but a fine comedic actor. But ladies and gentlemen, through those early years of the 90s, cutting his teeth on a variety of shows, an incredible character actor, and some of the most memorable catchphrases came out of that man's mouth in the late 90s and early noughties. Like I said, we're going to talk about his musical career. We're going to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, his resurgent musical career. We're going to talk about the incredible man, my dear friend. I'm transitioning now, not in a kind of strange man to lady transition that at this stage of my life would be slightly odd. But ladies and gentlemen, we're transitioning now from this scene to this one with my dear friend, Mr. John Thompson, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, there he is, John Thompson, in a box in the Northwest. How are you, John? There you are. There you are. Now I can hear you. Now I can hear you, John.
No.
There you are. Now I can hear you. Now I can hear you, John. That's it. You played
there. Now you can hear me.
Now I can hear you. How are you, sir? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm sorry. Do you know what?
Yeah.
I moved my quality professional microphone.
Yeah.
And made the fundamental amateur error of pressing the mute button as I moved it.
The mute button. Well, this because this is the way it is now.
Yes, it is. Tech hell. I've been through tech hell today, but
why is this? Because you do a lot of. I know. I've just said there are many arrows in your armory. There's an awful lot of.
One would like to think.
Yeah, and part of that is of course your voiceover career. You've done a whole heap of voiceovers, and most recently Police Interceptors. That's been going for years, hasn't it?
I have been doing the voice of Police Interceptors for probably near on 7 years now. And
what a gig. What a gig.
It saved my bacon in the lockdown. So pre everything in March, I had the foresight Lenny had always earmarked this particular room, which is what was known back in Victorian days as a coal hole.
Is that right?
And that's not a euphemism for anything.
No. Are you in the basement? Is it in the basement, or is it kind of?
It is in the basement. Now, right. Above me would have been a sliding manhole cover.
Yeah, of course.
Where lots of blackened fossil remains would have been poured by the coal man to furnish my fires in my Victorian terrace.
Okay.
Now, gone are those days, thankfully, of polluting the environment. But what I've done is brought things very up to date and converted the coal hole into a soundproof booth from which I can now tell people about the miscreants of the roads.
Can you imagine
the police?
Well, can you imagine the burly? Well, are you in Manchester? Are you in Manchester?
I am in Manchester. I'm in a posh suburb.
Yeah.
That people may know, Didsbury.
Didsbury, of course.
Yes, and on the corner, Lenny, is a very beautiful synagogue that you may have visited once
upon a time. Exactly.
Of
course, the Jewish family in Manchester are strong.
Very strong here.
Very strong. Yeah.
Very. The force is strong in Didsbury.
It is indeed.
Very. Yes.
John, you. I hope you don't mind me saying.
Yes.
One of the reasons I love you, and I wear my kind of old school variety credentials. I wear them like a garish sweater.
Can I just thank you for that intro, the background music before we actually went live?
Yeah.
It was an absolute treat for me
Wow.
to hear a muted trumpet punctuated with a glockenspiel, which you don't hear anymore.
Okay, so this is
Also,
yeah. Go on. Go on.
long gone. I knew what was coming. There was a jazz waltz in there, and do you know what? There aren't. It's just a thing of the past. It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful, beautiful thing.
Right. So I don't think you're going to be insulted when I say there's more than a whiff of the old school about you, John, and there always has been.
Absolutely.
So you're happy to wear that badge. You're happy to wear it.
Very. Well, I drummed in the working men's clubs in. Sadly, post the kind of. When a band in a club was really something, so you'd sometimes have a dance band, which would be a smaller big band, but then they kind of went a bit of a trio. But if your organist was worth his salt, and often I did accompany an organist worth his salt, he would remove one shoe,
right,
and his sock covered foot would be so fast he would be able to play 4-in-a-bar bass.
You're talking about, so this is, so people who don't know, this is organ players. You know, we're not just talking the left hand. We're not talking, but with a foot. It's an extraordinary thing to watch.
So if you imagine a bass player in a jazz number is going, he's doing that with one foot and playing with two hands.
Yeah,
on top. And
extraordinary.
they think drummers are coordinating.
Yeah. So you did cut your teeth. You see, but you cut your teeth playing in bands. A lot of people don't know that you are a drummer. That you kind
I
of,
am, yes.
and you were properly,
drummer.
you were properly schooled in the art of
I was
drumming.
indeed. I do know my paradiddles, my ratamacues, my flams, my flam taps, and there are 52 rudiments, but I won't bore you this evening.
You see, I remember we had a conversation and we were talking about various characters and incorporating the drumming into the act. It's not easy. It's never been I mean, Al Murray, great drummer, rock drummer.
Yes, he is a good drummer.
But it's a hard thing to incorporate into the comedy. And I remember you and I talking, and we were talking about the idea of maybe coming up with a character who was kind of more like a Tito Puente, a kind of a band leader, timbales player.
Yeah, timbale player, exactly.
And I think there's room for kind of comedy and drumming because it's a niche, but it's an unoccupied niche.
It is an unoccupied niche because the drums are an instrument of indefinite pitch. There's one thing that I think people are desperate for after about 5 minutes, and that is a melody.
Yeah, damn right.
It kind of grates. I think it's great to watch someone fly around a kit and do a drum solo.
Yeah,
but there is a kind of there is a waning point.
Yeah. There is
a bit
also
like Bernard Wrighton's.
Okay, right. Let me. Okay, so Bernard Wrighton was certainly the first time that I saw you work, and it's fair to say I think had achieved legendary status very quickly. People were talking about Steve's versatility and so forth, but I remember seeing that show about 3 times in its run in Edinburgh. It was in '92, John, or 90?
Yeah, correct, Steve.
Sorry, I don't know who you're talking about.
I don't know who that is.
And
I meant Steve Coogan.
He probably can't remember. I remember seeing, and this character made me weep. And I'm going to, for people who haven't seen it, this is Bernard Wrighton. And I am just going to cue that up. You won't be able to see it, John. You'll probably be able to hear it, but here we go.
Okay, let's have a listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome your host for this evening's events. He used to be a working man's club comedian. He was racist and sexist. That was before he met Claire Short and underwent a Road to Damascus-style conversion. He's just back from a 4-week fact-finding tour of the Amazon Basin. Please welcome reformed stand-up comedian, Mr. Bernard Wrighton.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Thank you. Lovely to be here in Liverpool. Thank you. There's a black fella. A black fella, a Pakistani, and a Jew in a nightclub having a drink. What a fine example of an integrated community.
Just the audience, I mean, we're talking about, now is the time of woke, but then very different.
Yeah, very kind of, before its time,
But did you used to feel buttocks tightening when this
Exactly,
material?
Steve. Yeah. Exactly, Lenny, sorry. I'm sorry. I forget about, I'm very sorry. It's, I was doing very well at the beginning. I played along beautifully, and now I'm slipping.
we
So,
go.
Len, can I call you Len? One of the things was it was getting past that first joke. Now, one thing, if you did a gig in the north, you had the advantage that A, Bernard Manning was better known.
Yep.
B, people had probably been to the Embassy Club,
Yeah.
Two
and
homosexuals.
that kind of comic was a little more well known in style,
Of course.
up north.
Yeah.
Now, London, it was a bit more cosmopolitan, a little bit more ahead of the times in far as
Well, it's
politically,
obvious. Four and possibly a small
as far as
child.
political correctness went. So there was always that risk where I was introduced. And it was inevitable that I was introduced in the correct manner to set the scene, to say that I was a racist, sexist comic and had seen the light, was on a road to Damascus and everything, because unlike Vic Reeves, who at the Sage Centre for the Teenage Cancer Trust went, his name's Dave, he's 13 and he's never done this before, as a joke.
John, 1 second. Let me just hear this. Let me just the end bit here. So that was okay. Now we're going to transition back into that. So it was. I mean, with an act like that, I suppose it's. I would say there's probably not a lot of areas you can move into with it. Yeah.
Well, it's
I
trying
wouldn't
to
say
flesh
it's
it
one
out and make
joke.
it three-dimensional.
Yeah.
There's a point where you can do PC jokes
Yep.
around race, sexuality, and
Sure.
colour, but I quite like doing kind of taking kids' jokes that were very well known. Almost like Christmas cracker jokes, and messing with those, like the joke where they go, I say, call me dog Isaiah, right? And they say, why do you call your dog Isaiah? Now, for those that don't know the original, I'll have to tell you the original joke. So they say, why do you call your dog Isaiah? And the answer is, because one eye's higher than the other, right? Now, my version was, I call me dog Isaiah. Why do you call your dog Isaiah? Well, I name all my pets after Old Testament biblical characters. Now, I used to love watching an audience draw a blank at jokes like that, because they really weren't. I was enjoying it, but not that they weren't necessarily. And quite often, boyfriends or male partners who had heard the jokes. I think women think jokes are very trivial, and they don't think they're very. I don't think women see the necessity to memorize. Men are obsessed with lists, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
And facts and figures.
Yeah.
And just like that, jokes. They like to remember jokes.
Yeah.
About certain things. Women, I think, see it as trivial. So quite often when I've done Bernard Wright on, I've been telling the joke, and just as I've finished the punchline on that one, the gentleman with the partner has been explaining the joke's original, and then she's shaking her head baffled, and then they have an argument because he misses the next joke.
Right. Okay.
So I've probably split quite a few people up over the years.
So Right On was, I suppose, there was another thing. There was another string to your bow at that time that I remember when we were hanging out, and I was, I was there in Edinburgh, kind of just saying to my manager, Sammy, my brother, saying, should I be doing the Edinburgh Festival? And we were going and having a sniff around. And talking to you, it was apparent that you were also an extraordinary impressionist. And you were the first person I ever heard that did the great Christopher Walken. Nobody was doing Walken back then. Nobody.
No. The reason Walken came along was my obsession with the film The Dead Zone, which is a David Cronenberg film starring Christopher Walken, which is a Stephen King adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that anything that Stephen King's written really and is adapted is gold.
Yeah.
Not everyone knows that Green Mile and Shawshank are both
Absolutely.
Stephen King.
Yeah.
So, that's what we're dealing with. And that casting in that film, interestingly enough, I saw because the Greg Stilson, who is the president character played by Martin Sheen in that, is really airing on Trump, and it was made some years ago. That film.
Isn't it funny? Quite prescient.
Yeah, quite eerie, really.
Yeah.
But I saw that film, and I thought, what a very interesting way that he speaks, because there's a line he's reading The Legend of Sleepy Hollow to the kids in the classroom, and he says, as he was a bachelor and then nobody's dead. nobody worried their head about him. And that's what I want. See? And I just thought, oh my God, this man's got such an amazing...
The cadence.
But it's strange,
It's the cadence.
strange cadence that where he'll pause and then come back a little later. But it's the New York. You can hear the New York.
You
thing.
can.
Yeah, you can hear that in
Well,
there.
I presume that was a kind of the impressionist thing was. It's usually
I used to kind of shoehorn them in, Lenny.
Yeah.
You know, when you start out, you're a bit kind of like short on friends when I moved to London. I remember Addison Cresswell, God rest his soul. Someone said, I said, I was in Groucho with John the other night, and he went doing his voices, was he?
Yeah.
And I heard that. I heard that story, and it broke me. It broke me. And I thought,
there were
wow.
so many things that came out of that man's mouth, which were both appalling and extraordinary all at once.
At once, yeah.
Do you remember? I remember him years ago saying, "Right, thing is, Len, you know, Jack D, he's bought me my house. He's bought me my house. Richard Morton, he's bought me the shed." And I just thought, it's so horrible, but absolutely correct. I mean, you know, if you're measuring the success of everybody by how big a thing you've bought. But the impressions, I suppose, just come, you know, as you start doing them as a kid. You just kind of,
it's kind of weird.
You have an aptitude, an ear, musically.
Of course. And then a child growing up in the 70s, everybody did Frank Spencer, you see.
Yeah.
It was, you know, who's going to see the Queen on Christmas Day then? I'll fix it in the morning, Betty. And it was like it was entry level impressions.
Yeah.
But
Yarwoodian.
Yes, Yarwoodian. But I think but most people who could hold their own as a Spencer, as a Michael Crawford, Frank Spencer, it was always a good sign they had a decent ear.
Yes.
Because it was very rare you heard a bad Frank Spencer.
Damn right.
I think, someone, you know, if you couldn't do Frank Spencer, it was time to retire.
You see,
really,
I've thought quite a lot about that as a character now, and imagining the pitch now with the BBC to say,
unbelievable.
Could you? He's basically someone with severe learning difficulties.
Unbelievable.
Not only accident prone, but actually
incredibly camp as well. I mean,
the sexuality is the most unsexual person.
Totally androgynous.
Yes, totally.
A fantastic Northern Soul tank top with a striped flannel pajama was quite often a look.
Exactly. I mean,
it's incredible.
And this wife, who was
very, very sexy, sexy 70s lady.
Sexy 70s.
And you always thought
was it Michelle Detrice?
It was Michelle Detrice.
It's Iwa Wuwu's wife, wasn't it?
It was Iwa Wuwu, yes.
Iwa Wuwu's wife.
The Equalizer.
Yeah, the Equalizer.
I wonder if he ever equalized it with Frank Spencer.
I don't even know what that means.
Revenge. Maybe he pushed that beetle off the cliff.
A beachy head. Fantastic. Oh, Mr. Spencer! Okay. Now, we've talked about your involvement in the clubs. You must have imbued a lot. I mean, we all did on TV, of course. I ran clubs. You know, my list of clubs is very, very long, and so we were around those entertainers. So when Coogan gets his series and you guest on it once again, and you did this at my club, and it maybe wasn't.
No, it was one of the worst experiences of my life, Steve. Lenny. I've done it again.
You've done it again. It's fine.
I'm not the
it's
first.
fine. It's fine.
I'm
sorry.
You know what? You know what it is? It's you're a ringer for a friend of mine. The
Jewish bald fella, very handsome.
Yeah, very fine actor.
Okay, I'm gonna show this character. This is Quintus. This is the first time we'll see Joe Beasley, and then
we'll get onto the best heckle I've ever received.
There you go. Career. Okay, here we go. So this is John as the incredible Joe Beasley, the world's worst impressionist. Joe Beasley and Cheeky Monkey.
Hold on to your sides, they might just split. As I welcome on Joe Beasley and Cheeky Monkey.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My name's Joe Beasley, and this is Cheeky Monkey, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it's a great privilege to be here on the Alan Partridge Show, knowing me, knowing you. And I was thinking to myself in the dressing room, that's an ABBA song, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? So here's a little joke, right? What do you get if you cross Fred Flintstone? No, not what if you cross. What do you get if you? What does a Swedish Fred Flintstone say? Yabba dabba doo. No, he says abba dabba doo. Abba dabba doo. That's what he says. So then, other week, pack it in you. The other week, stop it. The other week, me and Cheeky Monkey, we went to Blackpool Pleasure Beach, right? And at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, I don't know if you know this, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, but they've got the biggest roller coaster in the world. It's massive, isn't it? And we went up the big Dipper. Oh, God. We went up the Big Dipper. And we were on the Big Dipper, right? And we're going about 200 miles an hour. 200 miles an hour on the Big Dipper. And we go on the Big Dipper, right? And we come round the corner. And Cheeky Monkey, right? We're on the Big Dipper, right? No. Oh, you cheeky monkey. He's made me forget. It's his fault, ladies and gentlemen. He's made me forget. He's always doing that, ladies. He's made me forget the joke there. Cheeky monkey. Cheeky monkey.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Beasley and Cheeky Monkey.
I love it. Absolutely love that. It's because
It's one of the funniest things I've ever done, and it's very strange to watch it and start laughing myself, really. But you have to.
There's a lot to laugh at. The wig is incredible.
Yeah, it is. It is really.
It's Spanish waiter.
Yeah, exactly.
There's something. It's so poor, and there's no concession.
That line is
to,
fabulous, Lenny, where he goes, "Your axe is really poor."
Yeah.
It's just the worst. The prick me, do I not bleed?
I know.
It's so cruel.
And I wanted you to do that at my club for a long time. And
you did.
We were doing a voiceover.
Yourself and another theatrical impresario, Mr. Mike Lee,
Mr. Mike
begged
Lee.
me for many moons and said, "John,
please just come and do it.
It's going to work." And I said, "Listen, it's a TV gag. It doesn't work. It won't work live." And you went, "No, I guarantee you there are fans of Joe Beasley's and Chicky Monkey's in that club tonight that are clamouring for that act." And
About
I went,
4.
"All right." This was back in the day
back
where
in the
I
day.
still imbibed
Yeah,
the
I think
beverages.
you've been out in the afternoon, it's fair to say.
Right, I think so. I think that was just from absolute
Fear.
fear itself, and fear of death. The Reaper was on my shot. The Comedy Reaper was following me around all afternoon.
Oh.
And I had no monkey. I didn't know where he was. I do have the original again. And by the way, this is a little bit of a bit of a scoop for you that you've not seen the last of Joe.
Oh, beautiful.
So anyway,
wonderful.
So that's wonderful.
Wonderful.
And so Lenny and Mike convinced me to do the thing, and I was a little, so we say, refreshed. I'd been refreshed. I was as full as a mop, really. Yeah. And I just thought, well, it didn't matter. It doesn't matter that you're not really fully capable, because you've got to die anyway. The act is dying. So I kind of replicated some of what had happened on Alan Partridge. Went on. Part of the problem was I was supplied with a substandard monkey that wasn't even a vent dummy. He couldn't move the mouth. It was a soft toy with a back slashed open with a box cutter that I just put my hand up, and there's no way I could manipulate the mouth or anything. So I came on, I got the setup, Joe Beasley and Cheeky Monkey. I came on and I did I forgot me. Oh, no. Anyway, and it was utter silence. And then out of the darkness, a lone heckler shouted, "Where's this going?" And I left the stage. I just couldn't follow that comment.
It's such a reasonable thing to ask as well. Where's this going? Where is the point?
It was going nowhere.
Nowhere, exactly.
And that my answer was I voted with my feet and left.
Oh, John, thank you.
But you know what? I look back and I laugh.
Yeah.
I laugh, and I've got a good story because whoever heckled me, that person, whoever that is, I thank them for honing and probably getting sober.
Someone's asked, Barry73 said, was that Tash's John's own?
No, not that time, but I have grown a tash before.
Yeah.
I grew a tash for the film Born Romantic, which was about salsa dancing, and I was a mini cab driver in that, and I decided to grow a tash. Right. And I looked very much like a Greek taverna owner called Torishamos. I look something about Tash and me. I always look very, very Greek.
Like a Gypsy King's cast off.
Yes, exactly.
Joe Beasley is amazing. And what have we? Angie Jenkinson, great to see you both, two legends. She sends her love.
Thank
John,
you. Hello, Angie.
Julie Damon, I prefer the old style comedy that makes you laugh out loud. Any comedy, if it's funny, makes you laugh
I've got a
out loud.
joke,
surely.
actually.
Go
A
on,
kid's
great.
joke, nice and clean.
Fantastic. Here we go.
I love
Here
this
we are,
joke.
kids.
Right,
Gather around. Right.
here's a
there's
joke. This isn't a Bernard joke. This is just a joke that I'm very partial to at the moment. I'd like you to spread. So, what is a pirate's favorite letter of the alphabet? I'll do it as a pirate, all right? What is a pirate's favorite letter of
Well,
the
obviously,
alphabet?
you'd think R.
You'd be right. Lenny, you would be right saying R, but they're also very fond of the sea.
That's lovely.
Isn't that lovely?
That's lovely.
Very
something,
nice.
Something, it's not a laugh out loud.
Wholesome.
It's a kind of
Wholesome.
Thanks. Nourishing. It gets inside you. Okay, John, I think it's fair to say that after we're talking kind of late 90s, the big break in terms of everybody knowing your face was the Fast Show. It was a phenomenon, really. I mean, of course, you know, you've been associated with so much, but a show that kind of goes BBC Two and then huge after a year, crosses over, and then to get cold feet off the back of that, you know, you're talking two of the biggest programs, both comedically and drama as well, in the space of only a few years, which is, you know, that's quite something to be part of.
I was just coming out of Men Behaving Badly. I just been doing Ken the barman, who
Of
there
course,
was
you were
Les
Ken the
before.
barman. Yes.
So I'd had a nice run in that, and I
Yeah.
always thank the cast of that, of
Yeah.
Neil and Leslie and
And of course, that's Beryl Virtue as producer.
Beryl, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
all the team, because that was like a very small cast, and I thought a tight ship, and
Yeah.
Neil and Martin and Leslie and Caroline welcomed me with open arms and treated me just like I'd always been there, and it was so lovely.
Yeah.
And I had such a lovely time on it. And as I was leaving that, I went, "What are you doing next?" I went, "Oh, well, I've done a pilot for this drama called Cold Feet." And they went, "I don't know what it is any good." And they went, "Oh, right. Oh, okay." So that happened. And then Fast Show came, like you say, simultaneously.
Yeah. Amazing.
So the Fast Show thing was kind of, it all came out of Paramount City, really, because I remember we were doing that at the Windmill Theatre.
At the Windmill Theatre, the old Paramount City Theatre, which
That's correct.
And that was like a variety show, which Arthur Smith hosted, I believe.
Yes.
And Jules, I think, played on it occasionally.
And Simon Day was the
Simon
host,
Day was
as well as
doing Tommy
Cockles.
Cockles. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And Curtis and Ishmael. Do you remember them two? Yeah.
Sweet Jesus, Curtis and Ishmael.
Yes,
yeah.
they were on as well.
Yeah.
So that what happened. Paul Whitehouse came along, and he did a brilliant character, but it was kind of the world wasn't ready for it.
Just
And
left of field, too left of centre.
It was a Welsh granny that could kind of channel people from the dead, but had an oxygen mask, but like Dennis Hopper in Blue Velvet. And I think it was a kind of way of shoehorning in a few impressions. You go, "Hey, you've got someone coming through now, you haven't you?" And it was
Frank
like
Spencer again, yeah.
Yeah, it was all that. And I thought Paul Whitney was a disaster. Oh, and he went, me and Charlie are doing this thing. And it was a bit like one of those old 70s bank job films where they go, "Come on, Dave." And he's under the car and he rolls out from underneath and goes, "Oh, Billy, I'm not, no more. I ain't doing no more. I told you, my parole officer, I'm going straight." It was literally going around going, "Here, you do a bit of comedy. Would you want to be on board or what?" So it was like the Hatton Garden sketch show. That's how I seem to remember.
But for people who are only about 30, I mean, it should be said, youngsters.
So Simon was doing Tommy. I was doing Bernard. I didn't actually do him on Paramount City. I was doing Bernard Right on. Caroline was doing Sister Mary Immaculate.
Oh, yeah.
So they were on the scout for kind of people who weren't straight stand-ups.
Yeah.
They wanted people with character comedy ability. And we did it. And the mad thing about the show is Matthew Norman in the Evening Standard, he reviewed it while Victor Lewis Smith was away on holiday.
Right.
And slated it. And then Victor Lewis Smith got back, read his review, watched the show, and went, "What are you talking about?" And if it weren't for Victor, he went, "Ignore this man. This show,
wow,
is the next
idea.
thing." Yeah. So
and
we
that
were
was,
originally
and can I just
slated,
say, Victor Lewis Smith was a man known for slagging off people in reviews, which were, Victor was the funniest when he was sticking the boot in, as often critics are. So for him to kind of get behind something with such weight, you've turned yourself off again, John. You've turned yourself off again. There you go. I can hear I'm back. There you are. He's back. He's back.
Yeah, well, yeah, we sort of, well, Victor was someone to be feared, really. I mean, if you
Yeah,
didn't like, you didn't like, you finish it. But what he did was a counter review, which was quite rare, and we were saved. And also, sometimes the public need to be kind of shown the way.
Coerced.
I remember on
Yeah.
Fridays there was a comedy zone, so it was kind of Vicar of Dibley plus maybe a panel game plus.
Yeah.
And I remember Fast Show, they repeated season, first series, and then put series 2 straight on the back of.
It probably went on with Vic and Bob. Actually, probably went on with a bit of with a bit of
Smell of
the one before the
shooting. No,
Shooting Stars. First, was that the first series? Anyway,
yeah, possibly.
Now, again, fair to say, I'm going to show a couple of clips because people are like, oh, just love, and people saying, I love Bernard Wrighton. Have we spoken about Steve Coogan? John went to university with him. He didn't go to university, went to Polytechnic with him.
I did.
Man, you forget some of the good stuff JT has done. Hopefully we don't. Domfach. I'm such a muppet. I had a cassette of that Alan Partridge show and listened to it in my car for years. Never realized you were Bernard. Wow, there you go. Well, of course, there's the thing about a cassette. Funk and Buzz reminds me of the time I was made to walk the plank when I was a kid. We couldn't afford a dog. There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's not a laugh out louder. Here we go. I'm gonna show two of my favorite characters. I think. Well, you came when I was hosting at the Playboy Club. I asked you to come down because we had a jazz band. First, I would like to I'm going to go to a bit of Denzel Dexter. I remember it's just the voice for me, and this is so juvenile, but such a beautiful 1 minute sketch. It makes me piss myself. And here we go. Let's have a little bit of this. Oh.
You may or may not be familiar with an experiment conducted in the 1890s known as Pavlov's dogs, which proves the psychological theory known simply as conditioning. In an homage to Pavlov, myself and Dave here have over the last 4 weeks recreated the same laboratory conditions where I play the role of the dog. The bell was rung, and my reward was a can of baked beans. I was conditioned to associate the bell with the beans. Dave. Thank you, Dave.
That's genius.
Already, I am picturing the beans, and I am experiencing an excess of saliva in my mouth. As Dave continues to ring the bell, the conditioned reflex is reinforced.
There you go.
As the beans are not served, I feel hunger pangs in my stomach, and... Yeah, okay, Dave, you can stop with the bell now. Enough already!
Enough already! Oh man, I love that sketch. That just is so simple and yet
brilliant.
Who wrote the
Charlie,
the Denzel? Was it okay?
Charlie wrote that one.
Yeah.
I used to write a few. It was kind of like.
Who came up with that as a character?
Myself and Alan Francis.
Right. Oh, lovely Alan. Yeah.
Do you know Alan? Scottish Alan?
Scottish Alan.
When we were
another great impressionist.
When we were at drama school,
yeah,
he was in Steve's year. We used to do a thing together called "Talking Through a Hole in Your Beard," and we would talk about scientists and subvectors and quantum physics and mechanical physics, not really knowing anything about it, but kind of do that kind of voice where
that late 60s
we tuned
voice.
in. Yeah, we tuned in and dropped out and then went back to college again. The parents went mad that we squandered our scholarship on weed. So it was kind of that kind of thing.
Deadheads, man. Deadheads.
Yeah, deadheads. Yeah, Grateful Dead, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the kind of thing. He was a flashback casualty of science.
Of course he was. What was the character? What was the name? It wasn't Bernard. The character you did with Caroline, the henpecked husband.
That's Roy and Renee.
That's Roy. Of course, it was Roy.
Roy, yes, Roy and Renee.
And again, I mean, just because you mentioned before we were on tonight that you've just taken part in a documentary
That's right. I've
about
just
Caroline.
fronted
which,
a lovely documentary, and it's
And you say
Caroline
long
at the
overdue.
BBC.
Long
Long
overdue.
overdue. Yes, it's so glad that she's being recognised.
Oh.
But we used to love doing those.
Oh.
I mean, I've always felt sorry for Caroline because it's one of those
a lot
things
to
where
learn.
the body, exactly, the body of learning was like so major, and I had to, she didn't like learning lines, Caroline. And all I had to do is repeat it, except for the last line, So my favourite line is, because it kind of steps outside the box of logic, is the plane where she goes, and I said to Roy that quite often you'll find that cabin crew are gay. Didn't I, Roy? And I said, what did I say, Roy? And I went, they're all puffs and leathers. And she went, I did not say that, Roy. I hope you crash. Now, it wasn't until a few years later that I realized the concept of a single person crashing on a plane where no one else is everyone survives. It's an amazing concept.
Oh, absolutely fantastic.
To behold, really.
Someone's just said, what did I say, Roy? She said I could shit through the eye of a needle.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a holiday one.
Oh, and Roy...
Dig it to me. In Turkey.
Roy and Rini from the doc made me well up, so beautiful.
Oh yeah, that was at the time I wasn't too when I actually performed that without Caroline, the empty sofa, it didn't really hit me, but then when I saw it and watched it, then I just went, really, because it really hit me. It's weird because I was in the moment at the time. My daughter Olivia, she looked over at me and went, "Oh, Dad," and then we both went, and it was
yeah. I mean, it's the usual. Only when they're gone you realize how much you miss them. I mean, it's
yeah, of course.
But it is, I suppose they clambered to do a Victoria Wood. I don't know. Maybe it's something about that she was so quintessentially BBC Victoria Wood.
Do you know what I loved about Caroline? There was no agenda. She would go, what's it like being a woman and a comedian? She'd go, what about it?
Yeah. And also, she didn't really play the game. There was nothing showbiz.
There was none of that kind of, don't you feel you're fighting a corner for a kind of a minority in your workplace? And she'd go, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
She just would not play that game. She would not.
Well, I think if you ever
any of that.
You spent any time with her or with Henry, and you really, just or Craig, there's these people that they're kind of counter show business. They're very,
very true.
You and I are very show business.
Very true. Yes.
But I mean, Henry was another one you were a Manchester Polytechnic with as well. And I suppose, it's fair to say he was, he was always been a bit of a ringleader in terms of being able to.
I remember when he was a goth.
Yeah, I know.
He was a goth he was a goth with long sleeve. When they pull the sleeves down on the cardigan and put the hole through.
The Robert Smith type look.
Yeah, Robert Smith.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but I saw a photo of a young Cooper Clarke the other day, and there was similarities in backcombing.
Oh, you know what
going on?
I used to share a dressing room with Cooper Clarke once.
Very bright.
Yeah, but I don't think I've ever seen thinner legs ever.
No, you won't.
Ever. It's
Lenny,
extraordinary. Extraordinary.
He's always got his eye on a weather warning, especially.
I'm going to play, of course, the other character that's so synonymous with you. We're going to have a little jazz club. Now, somebody has put this on YouTube. You know that this exists, but I could not believe it. Someone, because you were the king of just kind of like, turning in to the other camera to give the close-up one-word remark.
With Mark Mylod's genius, that is.
Was that Mark Mylod? Okay.
Yeah, he came up with it.
Great director.
Yeah, brilliant.
And of course, Mark Mylod now a big Hollywood director, really Hollywood TV director.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for the call.
Aren't we all? This is a fantastic jazz club, a compilation just of you. It's superb. Here we go.
Hello, and welcome to Jazz Club, bringing you all that's best in the world of jazz. Nice. Great. Wonderful. Great. Nice. Great. Nice. Great. Piles. Nice. Nice. Great. Really great. Nice. Nice. Wonderful. Smoking. Great. Admirable. Right. Groundbreaking. Formidable. Superb. Shite. And tonight, jazz on the cutting edge. Ouch. Nice. Mellow. Great. Great. Really great. Crazy. Cool. Great. Jingle bells. Nice. Wunderbar. Great. Nice. Tragedy. Yowza. Contemporary.com. Humorous.
There you go. Oh, a lot of
Everyone's still surprising, Lenny, how many people in the street still do this to me, and I'm always civil. I always go, if I get a great, they go great, and I go nice. Or if I get a nice, I'll go great, and they love it, because there are certain people in our business that will say,
I'm not doing it. Fuck you.
And I'll go, jog on, idiot.
Yeah.
For not wanting to
Yeah.
curse. And I don't like those people.
No.
And I'm no time for them whatsoever. But I do still laugh when people go jazz. And I'm like, I just want to go, never said it. Okay. And choke them slightly and go, I never said it. All right. But I never do. I never do. I just have that kind of Walter Mitty kind of moment, Billy Liar kind of moment where I go, never said it, and then go, nice, and wander off, shamble away.
Did you ever feel comfortable after, kind of moving into the Cold Feet arena, which I suppose really the huge years of that, the very late 90s, early noughties? Was it something that...
I trained as an actor.
I know, but
trained and all that.
I know, but there is something about being amongst people that, just being amongst people who take the acting, when
yes,
I was in a show and someone said, and in the other theater, they said, "Oh, I saw that show last night." They said, "How was it?" I said, "Well, there was a lot of acting in it." You know what I mean? And you know what that means? It's like, and that, you can get a lot of that in certain shows. However, I know in Cold Feet, there's a cast, people like Robert and stuff, just phenomenally funny people anyway. So
we're very fortunate to have, in the old days, there was a kind of a rites of passage from stage to television to film, which makes perfect sense, really. You've kind of earned your stripes and moved your way up the ladder.
Yeah.
But now that doesn't count anymore. You can just be like a phenomenon that does one movie and you're away.
Or you just set fire to your testicles on YouTube and you're away
as
well.
Of course.
I've tried it. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, and I think in the old days of theatre, one would have a wig call, makeup call, and a dresser.
Yeah.
And you would be very much looked after. And you know what I mean? And I think that whole thing is where the lovey came from.
Of course.
And unfortunately, I would imagine that the lovey, that kind of lovey, there is a story apparently about Ian McKellen at Coronation Street. When he joined the cast of Coronation Street, they got him a dressing room that was like a quick change one, but they painted it and did it up lovely for him. That was right next to set, so he could just sort of step on like that. And they went, so there you go, Sir Ian. Your makeup mirror's there. He said, I'll put all your bits out there, and all your wardrobe's there. And she shut the door, and then literally a second later, she heard, "Right, I'm ready to be dressed now." And the wardrobe lady turned around and went, "Is he disabled?" He thought he was going to be dressed.
Of course. Yeah. Well,
yeah. So those days are gone. So I know what you mean about acting. When I went to drama school, we were taught what not to do, which was, in their words, demonstrate. Don't demonstrate the emotion, feel the emotion. So for me, as an actor, my acting it's about truth, and it's about making people believe what you are feeling is what you are feeling at that given time, and then they empathize with you.
Yeah.
And that's the basis of it, really. And as an actor, I work instinctively, which, if you were to look at in the realms of acting styles, that's very much the Sanford Meisner approach, where you react to a reaction. So I'm often, when I do theatre, which isn't very often, is I'll change it a little bit, because it's a long run sometimes, and you might try and do a line a little differently to just not. I mean, don't like. I mean, Panto. The beauty of Panto is you can mess about with it a bit more, really change it. But with a script, a proper script, you've got to be fair to the writer and not mess about with it.
Absolutely.
But you can change the way you perform it, and sometimes you are fortunate. You are gifted to have an actor who will work the same way as you and change their response instinctively. Sometimes you won't, and you'll get a robot. Oh my God. So you can imagine like an 80-night run with a robot. It's just literally, you try. It's blood and a stone and you're trying, and I think you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not talking like deviating from the mean. I'm talking about just trying something a little bit different.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, thankfully, the TV is, if anything, because of budgets being slashed and so forth, harder the luxury of choices gets diminished, because especially you've worked on Corrie. I mean, the rehearsal time it shrinks. The amount of takes that you can do for a scene shrinks down. So this sort of thing is, the
time
repetition
is
very, and repetition is not a luxury. So
thoughts, you can't think in a soap.
Yeah.
So they'll go, so what do you think about that, Dave? And you go, you can't. Dave can't think.
If Dave's just got his words right in the right order, that's it.
That's it. He goes, what do you think about that, Dave? Now, I, as Dave, will go, I think it's a ridiculous idea. But no, you can't. No. You can't do that in a soap. It's that. What do you think of that, Dave? I think it's a ridiculous idea. So Dave, everyone's very quick thinking. It's like the time in the Rovers when a drink arrived before I'd even handed up. Even I said, why is my drink there? And I'm not even offered an order or proffered any money. And they went, you asked too many questions. That was what they said to me at the Rovers. You asked too many questions.
Just take you to the side.
Yeah. I don't think you get many Strasbourg actors at Corrie. It would send them under.
Is there, when it came back, because again, with shows, it is, you don't the luxury. How long? 13 years, you said, yeah.
13 years absence.
Unbelievable, and also to come back. So I should just say for people, Andy Harris was in charge of it back in the day, wasn't he?
I have the greatest respect for Andy Harris, who is now behind the crown.
Behind the crown. That was the first thing. He leaves. I should say he leaves Granada, ITV, starts up his own production company.
That's right.
And the first thing out of the gate for him is the Crown. I mean, for West Bank Pictures. I mean, it's extraordinary. And
he's a risk taker. That's what Andy is.
And he's lovely as well.
Yeah, he's got a great. He's a great gambler.
Right.
He will see something and he will take a punt on it and it will work.
Yeah.
Problem, there is no pussyfooting around. That's the big problem with TV now. Middle management,
absolutely.
R-ing, PC.
People who've never
who's
made
our
anything.
Target audience? Who's our demographic?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't that long ago where I was asked, "What's our USP?" And I honestly didn't know, within the realm of entertainment, what a USP was.
No, it's something you put in your computer.
Exactly.
The thing is, I would say so. But when it came back and you get that call from your agent, how was that process? What was that process then?
Over the years, to be honest, the public, there was always a constant demand for it to return.
Right. Okay.
So we went out on 5 series. I nearly said seasons then, because that seems to be the American. That's the Americanized version thing.
Yeah.
5's a bit of an odd number. So I always thought we'd have done 6, but we didn't. We did 5. And we just kind of it kind of ended, but not completely cut and dried.
Mm-hmm.
And over those years, all weekly, people would go, "Oh, when's it coming back?" And it was held so dearly to people's hearts. It was such a hit.
Yeah.
And there was kind of rumor mongering, there was tabloid kind of stirring, there was all that kind of thing. And there was like, is it? I remember Faye said that they printed some fake story in some paper, and she arrived at a barbecue and everyone opened champagne and went, "Congratulations!" And Faye went, "What?" She went, "Cold Fee's coming back." She went, "No, it's not." She said that happened. Anyway, eventually, the most because it gets to a point where it's Boy Who Cried Wolf. You go,
No.
And I remember I was on a train and I was contemplating playing Nurse Nellie in the Panto at Stockport. My first Dame. I'd not done Dame before, and I said to my agent, I said, I'm thinking about, and he went, hold your horses. I went, I have a script here. And I went, really? And he went, yes, for Cold Feet. I went, okay. And then he went, written by Mike Bullen. And I went, oh.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Now that's different. So then it was the kind of thing, is everybody on board? Unfortunately, I mean, we didn't have Helen back, but we were trying to find ways without it being strange and supernatural of getting her back in.
Right.
So my idea was like Dexter, where his dad is his moral conscience, where he has a communication with him. So I said, why don't you make Helen Jimmy's romantic conscience, so he can talk to her about where to go with his life without feeling that he's hurting her. And everyone said, oh, it was a great idea. And they offered it to Helen, but not like, so Jimmy was talking to Rachel and then the door opening and them going, and they're going, who are you talking to? No one there, who are you talking to? It was none of that kind of Randall and Hopkirk type stuff. And it was someone said, that's a great idea, that's a great device. Anyway, they offered it Helen, and Helen said, no, it's all right, I'm okay. And I think Helen does Cuckoo. She's happy in that.
Yeah.
And she's likes being a mum. She likes being a mum. She loves the kids, So it was just unfortunate that character died. And then we came back with a bang, and it could have been a car crash, but we were so.
And how many in now? Have you done another 3 with that, or 4 with that?
3.
God,
another
amazing.
3. 2016. So we've done 3, and then what was to have happened was we were to have done a kind of Lampoon's European Vacation 90-minute special in Barcelona last year.
Okay.
And then. What happens.
Obviously, exactly. Yeah.
So it's kind of it's.
Well, these things have a way of bubbling back up to the surface. Of course.
I'd like to be things nicely wrapped up and kept in the warming section of an Argus.
Exactly. With a Labrador just lying and blowing off in front of it.
Yes, exactly.
Now, John, we've done an hour. I'm gonna just ease into the final part of this interview with, obviously, this revelation, and it's the big revelation that everyone was talking about. And of course, there aren't many kind of, I suppose, for want of an awful phrase, of water cooler moments anymore. But lockdown has kind of concentrated our viewing in a different way now.
Indeed.
And there are certain shows, and this is certainly a show which I think if The Masked Singer came along 10 years ago, you go, well, this sort of a bit like that. But there's something about the insanity of it, and about getting people to dress up and not know who the hell they are until they're out. It's a bit too shrieky for me. And, you're talking about a man that did Night Fever back in the day.
It's a Korean show.
I was going to ask, what is the provenance of the show?
Yeah, the provenance is, it's Korea.
Right.
So, yeah.
And ironically, it's made.
Well, when I say Korea, I don't mean CAREER.
Yeah.
But for some, maybe.
Well, you see, and this is where, when, right, I'm going to I'll play the video first, then we'll talk about it. Because,
this is mad. It was like a crazy fame last week.
Which one do you think I'm not going to do the reveal.
Okay.
John, but which one do you think I would play? Being Lenny Beige,
I think I would say Delilah.
4. Well, okay, it was the Delilah or this one, and it's the well, of course, this is the one which Davina says, and Jonathan Ross was saying, it's because of this, and the clue was you, because it was Please Release Me, and
that's right,
which was pretty much
it was Clue Week. So every song the singers sang
had
a clue to their identity.
There we are. It's a difficult song, John.
It is. It is. It's that slide.
And also because so many people have just taken the piss out of club singers singing this.
Yeah, I want you to do it justice.
You think that's to show their age?
Thank you for being.
Although people could fall.
I love that kind of like art and that kind of recognition they do. Very slow, you see.
So all it's a naked place. A slow song.
It's very true. Very well said. Very well said, Lenny. I agree. It is a naked place, especially without the mask on. You do have to. You've got the beauty of the hiding of that huge resin thing on your fonts.
So how does that how do you arrive at Bush Baby? Is there presumably do you have any sort of dialogue with the producers?
I was asked to do it the
about
first series round, and I was
Okay.
doing Cold Feet, and they wouldn't release me. So,
There you go. Yeah.
there you go. And it's ironic that I sang that song,
And you said, let's have a little
I
less
couldn't have been happier
conversation
because it was
and
boiling.
Yeah,
It was
right.
so hot.
Okay.
It was I was starting to lose it a bit because it was a heat wave. It was boiling hot, and it was very, very lonely because it was lockdown in lockdown. So you are put in a
Like
dressing
the boy
room.
in the bubble.
I'm not
boy
literally,
in the hairy
honestly,
bubble.
there's no Beyonce suite type dressing room. It's quite basic. And
Where were you? Were you Granada or down in
No,
Maidstone?
Hemel.
Hemel.
Yes,
Hemel.
in an aircraft hangar.
Right. Okay.
So you know when you see on TV, sometimes you'll see Studio One was at Upper Ground at London Weekend Television.
Yeah.
You go, oh, it's massive, but it's a wide angle lens on a rostrum camera at the back. You know, one of the crane shots.
Yeah.
You go, whoa, it's huge. But it's not really that big when you get there. It's just the wide angle lens. But this is a big studio,
Right.
and it was hot. The costume is foam latex, and there's lighting. But what you don't see are the 3 rehearsals of that sound check of that song that you do. And have to keep your mask on. So when I did a little less conversation,
schwitzing.
I really wanted to give it a bit of, my schwitzing. Yeah. Honestly, my feet felt like they were. It was just so hot, and it was the weirdest thing because you've got proper ear monitors where they make the molds for your ears.
Right, yeah.
Without a feed going through them, you're deaf.
Yeah,
you cannot see out of that head, so you're blind, and you're not allowed to speak to anyone because you give your voice away. So you are incapacitated of all your major senses.
Could you not have just walked around doing what we were saying? Frank Spencer or just
when you're not in costume, you have to wear a black hoodie with "Don't Speak to Me" on it, a welder's mask that you can't see with a hood up, and black gloves to hide your ethnicity.
It's like the worst kind of pandemic costume.
Exactly,
as you were saying, within a pandemic.
Yes, really, yes, like a hazmat meets Reaper.
But to answer the question in terms of the Bush Baby, so is there a dialogue about what you can choose? Is there any?
Okay, yes, there was. There were songs that were kind of suited to my keys. I'm a high baritone.
No, but I'm talking about the mask. I'm talking about physically. The
physically,
head.
the head inside the head is one. You know, on a cycling helmet, there's that.
Yeah.
There's one of those. That,
yeah. No, but can you choose? Could you choose to be a Bush Baby, or could you say, I don't want to be a Bush Baby, I want to be a giraffe?
Series 1, they said, what do you want to be? So free reign. And I went, a monkey, because I love monkeys. Anyway, so if I'd done Series 1, I would have been a monkey.
Okay.
But this time I got offered 3. Now, one of them was a seahorse. I think the other one was the alien. Now, the other 2 weren't. The spikiness of the seahorse was not for me.
No.
I mean, a lot cooler. Both costumes are much cooler. However, I realized that the dimension of the subterfuge to that was such an added dimension because they indicate a woman.
Yeah.
So I would have not only had to hide my identity, but I would have also had to have pretended to have been of the opposite sex as well.
So,
which was great, an incredible acting challenge, but really, I had enough going on with the rest, as opposed to, changing my gender to fool the judges.
Amazing. And there's a great video if you Google it of when your 2 lovely girls.
It's great
when it was revealed.
It's on my my
Twitter feed, isn't it? On your Insta, yeah, it's very, very funny. So, basically what that's going to mean now it's kind of, when theatre starts again, is, do you want to do the Chitty tour? Do you want to do that, the tour? Do you want to do this? There was West End show of it's suddenly, you're now on the radar as a great comedic actor who's got a fantastic set of pipes.
Well, I'd like to. Just some songs that I love. That like "World of Your Imagination" is a lovely song. as is Pusher by Mountain.
Yeah,
It's such a
absolutely.
lovely song.
Yeah.
So those kind of songs.
Gentle songs. You know what it'll be? If Nick Knowles, frankly, can release an album, so can John Thompson reveals his gentle side, featuring songs like Usher by Mountain.
Yes,
Beautiful.
absolutely. But accompanied on kazoo and lagerphone. Do you know those things? A lagerphone. It's one of those. It's a lagerphone. Basically, is a broom handle with bottle tops nailed to it.
It's an old skiffle instrument, isn't it?
It is a skiffle.
Yeah.
instrument.
So it's wash.
Or the T-chest
bass.
T-chest bass.
And the washboard, amazing. I mean, it's like this is what Chatty Tuesday should be about.
This is exactly what it should be about.
Two
Let's
middle-aged
all
men
fashion our own
talking
instruments.
Exactly. That's
We're in
what-
lockdown.
In the
Come on.
pandemic. Yes. The pandemic band.
The skiffle mega orchestra.
I was going to say the Tin Pan Pandemics. That's what we should call ourselves.
Very nice. I like that.
John, it's always a joy. You really
Lenny,
are.
always a pleasure.
You really
Say hello
are
to Steve for me as
I
well.
will do. Yeah, well, he's heard it enough tonight. You really are a joy. People just looking at the questions and the love is just people just love you, and
It's very nice to be loved.
you've made, and you know what? It's an impossible thing to try. Well, it's not impossible to try, but when people want it too much, they're repelled by it. Some people have got it, other people don't. You got it in huge quantities, John. You're immense. I love you.
Thank you.
What's coming up
Thanks for having me on.
apart from police?
I'm going to dabble with a podcast, I think.
Are you?
Yes, John Thompson, not your typical bloke.
Okay, we should talk. John, what else? TV wise, then Cold Feet. I'm sure will come back.
TV-wise, in the sack of in the acting sack,
Yep.
pre-Christmas.
Yep.
I've got a MacDonald and Dodds, which is with Tana Gouvier and Jason Watkins, which is a two-hander detective in its second series set in Bath.
Lovely.
I have had the great honour of one of my bucket list jobs is ticked now, Midsummer Murders.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I've done
Lovely.
one of those.
Great.
And I've also we're back in touch, back with the one and only Mr. Coogan. I can't say that anymore, that impression, can I?
It was so funny
do
because
that.
you edged
didn't
into
hear
it.
that.
You edged into it. It's funny.
It's so easy.
So
just,
easy, yeah.
Honestly, it would. So can I just apologise before the switchboard goes purple? Yeah, I'm working with Steve again. Coogan on this time with AP, Alan Partridge.
Oh,
Yes, I'm
amazing.
working with Steve again. So I've done those three. So I was very lucky, very, very grateful. I'm very lucky to have squoze in 3 jobs, all, COVID protocols and all that.
Amazing.
Swabbed and tested. I've had 15 tests now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Well-
I've not left this room for 15 days.
In your
Stinks
coal
here.
hole. Amazing.
No.
John, thank you. You're a beautiful man. I really do appreciate this. Is the first one back in the new year, and it's going to be hard to beat. You're wonderful. Thank you,
Sending
ladies
lots of
and
love.
gentlemen. A round
Love
of
to
applause,
everybody out
please,
there.
for everyone. Bye, John.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Love you, man. Love you. Love you. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. That is Mr. John Thompson. I'm just going to sign him off there. Thanks, John. You're amazing. Bless you. Bless you. Speak to you soon. Speak to you soon, my dear. Bye. Bye. He's gone. He's gone there. Well, that was fantastic. Thank you all for watching. We had lots of engagement, lots of people, a couple of follows. Mini Limmy, Mimi108, 7 Days. Just fantastic. Next week, we have Katie Brand, hilarious woman, author, actress, comedian, and just phenomenally bright. And it'll be great to talk to her from her home, which I think is in Germany. But John, ladies and gentlemen, John Thompson, what an absolute mensch. If you don't know that word, look it up. It's been brilliant. I think Queenie might be back on Thursday night. I will be back here on Friday night. You've been great. So thank you so much, Dump Fact. Thank you, Draft Balls. Cheers, Lenny. I'm sorry, sad you're ending. That's the way it goes. An hour. It's actually an hour and 15 tonight. Kisses for all of you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. No matter what you look like or where you've been. Mwah. That's the joy of the internet. Thank you very much, people. Spread the love. And remember, Thursday, Dom Jolly is back on at 7.